Okay, so can I start now?
I will introduce the session, and then I will hand over to you. So good morning, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us on this webinar series 2.6, where we are going to talk about bamboo for renewable energy, trying to address the UN Sustainable Development Goals number 7, with a specific focus on Africa. So the broad theme of our session today is affordable and clean energy, on how we can harness the potential of bamboo for renewable energy in Africa. So as you may know, in this part of the developing world, around 100% of people in rural communities depend on fuel wood for their source of energy. And this does not come without consequences. This has resulted in increasing deforestation and forest degradation in this part of the world. And this deforestation and forest degradation further exacerbates because it has other consequences in terms of fostering climate change, soil degradation, biodiversity loss, etc. And the problem is even accrued in areas where rain patterns have changed and we have increasingly dry lands with fewer fuel wood available for these people to survive for their fuel wood in terms of livelihood. So the problem of how do we address this is increasing, and we have been looking at solutions on how we could provide fuel wood for people in rural areas and also urban areas, at the same time not destroying our environment. And bamboo today offers an opportunity that we could harness to be able to maybe not fully address, but at least partially address this issue for sub-Saharan African population. So today in our webinar, we are going to have 3 speakers. We are going to have Dr. Abel, which is a professor and current head of the Department of Wood Production Engineering in the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. His core expertise in the development of sustainable construction and biofuel materials with specific focus on rattan cane, with more than 25 years of experience. So he has authored or participated in more than 100 publications and books. So he will be our first speaker today, and he is going to address the issue of strategies for facilitating sustainable bamboo briquetting industry and bamboo briquette utilization in Africa. So Dr. Abel is going to be followed, his presentation is going to be followed by Timothy Robinson, who is a researcher and coordinator for the technical training research. He is based in Cameroon, and he's going to deliver a presentation on the potential of bamboo as a biosource in Cameroon. And finally, we are going to have Mr. Peter Baugudu, who is Assistant Director at the Forest Product Utilization Division, Department of Forestry at Federal Ministry of Environment of Nigeria. He's based in Abuja. He is also INBAR focal point in Nigeria. So he's going to do a comparative analysis between bamboo versus other renewable energy in terms of what will be the construction, the contribution to carbon mitigation or greenhouse gas reduction in the atmosphere if we focus on bamboo. So to me, this 3 presentation looks extremely exciting. I am very keen to know what they will have to share with us. Each speaker will have around 15 to 20 minutes to be able to present, and we are going to have a Q&A session shortly afterwards. So after this introduction, please, it is my honor to introduce Dr. Abel, who is going to be our first speaker, and he's going to talk about the strategies for facilitating sustainable bamboo briquetting industry and bamboo briquette utilization. So Dr. Abel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank everyone who has made it possible for me to make this presentation this morning, despite the technical challenges. Now, the title of my presentation, as has been mentioned, is Strategies for Facilitating Sustainable Bamboo Briquetting Industry and Bamboo Briquette Utilization in Africa. And I bring you greetings from Nigeria. I live in the western part of Nigeria, and specifically I work and reside at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. You can see the photograph of the gate of my university there. So greetings from Nigeria. The outline of this presentation is as follows. I'd like to quickly talk on the current energy situation in Africa very briefly, the meaning and advantages of briquetting. I'm not assuming that everybody knows what I'm talking about. And then the rationale for promoting bamboo briquettes in Africa. I'll move from there to the challenges of bamboo briquetting in Africa, and then talk about the strategies that we can adopt for promoting bamboo briquetting in this continent. Then I'll conclude. So quickly, let's go to the current energy situation in Africa. It is common knowledge that energy is central to addressing our current global challenge of sustainable development. I think that has been alluded to in the introductory remarks by Mr. Khan. It's also obvious that wood is by far the most predominant. Indeed, Africa has the highest per capita fuel wood consumption across the globe. By that, I'm talking about firewood and charcoal. Now, unfortunately, in many parts of Africa, the unsustainable use of firewood and charcoal for cooking and heating is already creating ecological disaster. There's desertification, there's deforestation, and the attendant challenges, suggesting to us that we cannot continue to rely on wood for cooking and heating in Africa. Because with the exception of a few African countries, unfortunately, firewood and charcoal and crop residues and animal waste will continue to remain the major energy source if we don't do anything about it. And the reasons are not far-fetched. The first is the fact that in many parts of Africa, we still have a large number of poor people who have no access to other sources of energy. And then it's been proved that modern fuels, in terms of kerosene, liquefied natural gas, and so on, have really only outlasted traditional fuels completely in the countries where traditional fuels are very scarce, or where the modern cities have become dominant, for example, in Brazil. So many African countries are still rural, and so they will continue to depend on things like on traditional fuels, firewood, charcoal, and so on. The last point is that people's cooking habits take a long time to change. I'm aware that in many parts of Africa, people prefer to cook certain kinds of meals with firewood or with charcoal. They will not even want to use kerosene. So for these and many other reasons, Africa will continue to rely on traditional forms of energy for the foreseeable future. So strategies that we want to adopt to promote sustainable energy production for domestic cooking and cottage level industrial operations in Africa should therefore be such that the expected changes are not drastic. You are not moving people from what they are very used to what they are not used to. And it should also be such that accommodates existing practices, the kinds of stoves that they use, the kinds of facilities that are already available. And one of such strategies is the promotion of the use of bamboo briquettes. So I quickly go now to define what briquetting is. It's just the process of compacting otherwise loosely packed materials into various shapes and sizes for use as energy products. I'm aware that biobriquettes are also used for agricultural purposes, but that's not the focus here. It is briquettes used for energy production. And briquettes can actually be divided into two broad categories. Those that are produced with binders, or what we refer to as adhesives, and those that do not require binding agents. You can also divide the methods of production into two. You have the low pressure production systems and the high pressure production systems. I'm going to talk briefly about this later. And there are several advantages of briquettes over firewood and charcoal, and I'll just list a few of them here. One is that briquettes have greater heat intensity than firewood. You get more heat per kilogram than what you get from firewood. Two is that briquettes are cleaner and more convenient to use, as you can see in the photograph being displayed. If you touch it, your hand is not going to be messed up, unlike if you touch charcoal. So they are very clean and they're very convenient to use. The other thing is that actually, even though they come in different shapes and sizes, you can break them into smaller pieces like charcoal so that they can be combusted in charcoal stoves. The third point is that briquettes are very easy to package. You can see the packages. This was a photograph taken in Tanzania of a factory that was producing briquettes. So if they are packaged this way, you can actually transport easily. You can sell them in supermarkets and other outlets where charcoal and firewood cannot even get into. And then briquettes require very small storage space. You can also see the kind of storage facility. Again, this photograph was taken somewhere in Tanzania. So compared to firewood and charcoal, they require relatively small storage space. So these are some of the advantages of briquettes over firewood and charcoal. There are a few more, but let me just restrict myself to those because of time. So why advocate for bamboo briquettes? There are several reasons why I'm saying that we should use bamboo for briquettes, because you could actually use sawdust, you could use any other agricultural waste, but why bamboo? One, the reason is bamboos are widely available in many parts of Africa. They grow and mature faster than wood. In less than 3 years or so, you can harvest your bamboo and then you can use it. Not only do they grow faster and more mature, even in degraded lands where wood will not grow properly, bamboos can grow. And then they're also easier to process for briquetting because of the hollow shape and so on. And a few studies have shown that the different bamboo species that we have in Africa can actually be briquetted. There have been studies already conducted confirming that we can get very high calorific value from bamboo briquettes. Also, because bamboos have the same kind of chemical composition like wood, you have the same content of cellulose, hemicellulose, and so on. And so it is close to wood in terms of energy content. And of course, bamboo briquette is compatible with sustainable development because you can use degraded lands, you can use waste bamboo and different things without creating problem of deforestation and desertification. Now, even another important point is bamboo briquettes, when you produce them, you can use that to address the waste challenges that we have in bamboo processing, starting from the harvesting, where a lot of them are left in the bush, to the charcoal fines. Even after producing charcoal, you have the fines that are left or discarded. These can be briquetted. The trimmings and shavings from furniture makers and so on that constitute 20 to 40% of waste. This can also be converted into briquettes. Now, another interesting thing is that the bamboo itself, because of its hollow shape, can actually be used as a briquetting press. All you need is to have a smaller comb and then a bigger one. The smaller comb will still have the will not be, I mean, you can use the smaller one within the bigger one, and then the bigger one becomes a mold, the smaller one becomes your plunger, and then you can actually create a bamboo briquetting press. I've tried this at home, and I have a few samples of small presses produced from bamboo. And then to minimize air pollution, bamboo briquettes can be made smokeless by first carbonizing and then using appropriate binder. So I'm actually advocating that we don't use the bamboo particles as they are, but we first carbonize so that we remove all the volatile materials and then we bind. And then that way we reduce emissions when the bamboo charcoal briquettes are being combusted. Now, but there are a few challenges that we need to overcome for us to be able to adopt bamboo briquetting technology across Africa. The first is that bamboos are still treated as open access resources across Africa. People are not planting. And so if we rely on the wild forests, eventually we'll exhaust all our bamboos. Unfortunately, up to now, we still are not doing silvicultural practices, and bamboo plantations are not common yet in Africa. There's also the challenge of uncontrolled harvesting. People just go there and harvest whatever they have. And there's also the problem of the very low level of awareness of briquetting technology across Africa. A few studies I've conducted with my students the last 2-3 years have shown that from Nigeria to Zimbabwe to Tanzania, many people are still not very familiar with the briquetting technology. And so the level of adoption of that technology is still very low in Africa because of the low level of awareness. I'm not saying that to suggest that there have not been briquetting factories across Africa in the past, but actually many of them failed because they are very high-tech factories. And this brings me to the next point, that in places where briquettes have been promoted, there is a problem of appropriate technology. Many countries have gone for high-tech equipment that depend on electricity, and then it's so expensive to produce, and then pricing becomes a problem. So there's also the challenge of what is the appropriate technology to adopt. And again, that's tied to pricing, like I said. So if your technology is so high-tech and the input is so high, then the tendency is that the price will be high. And we know that really, usually briquettes compete favorably with charcoal. So if you are bringing out a product that's much more expensive than charcoal, the likelihood is that people will not buy into it. So there's also the challenge of appropriate pricing tied to the challenge of appropriate technology. So what are the strategies that we can adopt to address these challenges? So I'll just take them one by one. The first one is the challenge of treating bamboo as open resource can be addressed by promoting bamboo cultivation. Let's encourage people to develop bamboo plantations. And like I've said, even in degraded lands, bamboos can grow very well. So let's promote bamboo plantations. Let's encourage charcoal kilns to also have briquetting plants by the side, so that the charcoal fines that are being wasted can be converted into charcoal briquettes. Then there is a need to mount awareness campaigns and trainings on briquetting, especially for the local people. There are quite a few groups in Nigeria that have been doing that in the last 1 or 2 years. I'm aware that some women are being trained on how to produce briquettes in their backyard. So there's a need for more awareness campaigns and trainings on briquetting technology. And then, like I said, you can produce your briquettes from just the bamboo particles, but it is best for us to have smokeless bamboo charcoal briquettes, meaning that it's better we first carbonize our material before we convert into charcoal, so that we can reduce the challenge of volatile organic emissions when we are combusting the bamboo in stoves. And then when it comes to the issue of appropriate technology, I've said that high-tech is not the way to go in Africa, because if we produce with high technology, there's a challenge of electricity supply, which is a problem across Africa. And if we are also talking about rural areas, many of them don't have electricity. And then, but the locally produced simple, low-cost manual presses are available. I've seen quite a number here in Nigeria. I've developed some myself. I've seen quite a number in Kenya and other places. These are machines that will give you briquettes at affordable prices, so that the product can compete effectively with charcoal, and then you don't have problem of electricity supply. So I'm advocating for low-cost, simple presses that are manually operated. They don't have to rely on electricity, and people can easily fabricate them, they can easily maintain them, and can easily use them. Now, of course, once we are going for charcoal fines, it means that we have to select appropriate binder. Now, usually a binder should have high bonding strength. It must not have offensive smell. It must be cheap, and then the requirement for drying must be minimal. So across Africa, there are different kinds of binders that we can use. Some I've also tested and published on. You can use waste paper, you can use clay or mud, you can use cornstarch or pap, and so many other kinds of adhesives that are available and are low cost across Africa. So we need to select the appropriate binder. Then there's also the issue of marketing. The best thing is to use the natural markets for charcoals. That is homes, institutional kitchens, schools, prisons, restaurants. In East Africa, quite a number of these are already going on. A lot of these marketing channels are already being explored. So it will be easier to penetrate if we use existing markets for charcoal, and then even for metallurgical processes. And then, of course, we must adopt appropriate pricing mechanism for bamboo charcoal briquettes. Like I've said, the prices should be comparable to that of charcoal, otherwise it will not be adopted. So in conclusion, I'd like to say that traditional fuels, forms of charcoal and briquettes, will remain a major energy source in Africa for years to come. But the good thing is that rather than relying on wood, bamboos have great potentials as renewable energy resource in Africa, and we have them all across the continent. Of course, a number of challenges are there, and I've highlighted some of them. They are by no means exhaustive, but quite a number of these challenges are surmountable. And once we're able to overcome them, then we should be able to introduce bamboo charcoal briquettes across Africa. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm done now.
Dr. Abel, thanks very much for insightful presentation. So I would not try to summarize your presentation because that would be something I would not be able to do, but I will try to just draw out highlights of the key points that I have been able to pick up from your presentation. You started by highlighting the very unsustainable use of fuel wood on the continent with its consequences, and you highlighted the fact that many of the African countries are still very deeply reliant on fuel wood for their energy, and that we should try to shift gradually into something which is more sustainable, like bamboo, because you mentioned some of our cooking habits which are difficult to change, and one of these gradual shift would be the consideration of bamboo briquetting because of its many advantages, as you have highlighted, the fact that in terms of calorific value, it is comparable to wood. When we use appropriate binders, we don't have pollution issues, which is also one of a key problem when cooking with fuel wood, where we have a lot of smoke and people cooking face problem. But you did well to highlight that using bamboo does not come without challenges. And one of the challenges is in terms of resource development. So far, for many African countries, the bamboo resource is wild. It is not planted, and people just harvest it from the wild. So if we put in place a sustainable briquetting industry, it is likely that this natural resource of bamboo we have may be unsustainably managed. So we have to plant to make sure that the industry is sustainable. You also highlighted the low level of awareness that people are not really aware of the potential of briquette, and sometimes they tend to put this into comparison with charcoal, which people are really used to, and it is the platform to highlight that some of the charcoal in Africa are very cheap because it comes from sustainably managed forests or from illegally harvested wood, which even makes it a very big competitor to what we're trying to suggest. So also the price that the briquette on the market should be affordable, and one way of making price affordable is to avoid replicating what has been put in place in developed countries, where they use very high-tech machines to be able to produce the briquette, but instead to use very local press machines, which are not reliant or dependent on electricity, because we also know that sometimes power shortage could be a challenge in this part of the world. So on that, I thank you very much, Dr. Abel. I will try to keep you on the hold because we will be harvesting questions, and then this question would be channeled to you. So we are going to move to our second speaker, which is Mr. Chimene Robinson, who is going to share with us the potentials of bamboo as a biosource in Cameroon. So Cameroon is not very different from other African countries. Here we are very reliant on bamboo charcoal. In Cameroon, roasted meat, roasted fish, and all this kind of food is a delicacy, and people are very much dependent on wood charcoal for that so far. And also in Cameroon, we are also facing some issues with illegally harvested wood, which is then going to fuel this charcoal industry. So Robinson is going to tell us a little bit how we could use bamboo to be able to substitute this unsustainable charcoal and other forms of resources in Cameroon. So Robinson, if you are ready, I'm going to hand over to you. So I will invite you to put your presentation on presentation mode.
I think it's okay.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm presenting on the potential of bamboo as bioenergy source in Cameroon. Yeah, already on mute. Yes. How important is wood-based energy in global energy mix? That's our question. Globally, 1.5 million people lack access to electricity. 74% of Sub-Saharan Africa lack access to electricity. On to you. Yeah. I knew.
No, Robinson, it's okay. Please go on. We can hear you.
Is it okay?
Yes, it's okay. Yes, it's okay. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm presenting on behalf of my colleague and I, and our presentation is based on potentials of bamboo as bioenergy source in Cameroon. First question, how important is wood-based energy in global energy mix? Globally, 1.5 million people lack access to electricity. 74% of Sub-Saharan Africa lack access to electricity. About 85% of royal population of less developed countries and Sub-Saharan Africa rely principally on wood and byproducts for cooking. More than 2 billion people globally use wood for fuel, cooking, and heating. Is wood-based energy in current form healthy? That's our next question. Significantly, adverse health effects accrue from the use of solid wood fuels for cooking and heating. Globally, about 7.3 million deaths per year is attributed to household and outdoor pollution, according to the WHO. Young children exposed to solid fuel are more likely to 2 to 3 times to suffer from acute respiratory infection. Is wood-based energy in current form environmentally friendly? That's a third question. Deforestation and forest degradation is the second major source of anthropogenic greenhouse gas emission. It accounts for about 70% of global carbon dioxide emission. An estimated 3 to 34% of global wood is harvested unsustainably globally. Emissions from unsustainable harvesting and combustion of wood fuel account for 1.9 to 2.3% global emission. We want more energy, better health, and environment. Without cutting trees, without clearing forests, without emitting more carbon dioxide, without increasing health risks of consumers, without reducing food security, without reducing soil nutrients. Can bamboo be a viable option? According to Egler in 2012 showed that both of the tested bamboo species, Bambusa emensis and Philostratia femusis, are potentially suitable to be used as fuel in biomass-fed combustion plants. Overall, Overall, the means of gross calorific value for bamboo species like pomacea and bamboo emisis were 19.44 megakilogram and 18.3 megakilogram, respectively, according to the study of Dayton in 1995. Why this paper? Evaluate the potential to sustainably generate bioenergy from bamboo. Review challenges and opportunities for bioenergy generation from bamboo. Method, source of data. Our source of data came from INBAR data on trades in 2016. Analysis technique using 80% extraction rate, bioenergy potential was estimated based on literature review on sustainable extraction and specific characteristics of bamboo average for the different commodities was used. The residual to product ratio, moisture content, lower heating value. Result. Bioelectricity could be produced based on the different species or the species of bamboo, like 50% of efficient megawatt, which was low, 40% efficient of megawatt, which was high. We give a percentage of bioelectricity of 1441.80.810 and 3,078.160 as bioelectricity. Biochemical ethanol, liters. You have low liters, you have high liters. Low efficiency, level of efficiency. You have 2,500.790.080. We also have 93.789.696 of biochemical ethanol. Thermal chemical syngas to Fisher transport diesel. Liter. We also have low liter, which amount to 63,947.520. We also have high liter, 170,526.720. Constraint to bioenergy development for bamboo. Our first constraint is poor planning and capacity. Most bioenergy projects in Africa are at their embryonic stage and not yet at their optimal efficiency levels. Most of the time fail before reaching such level. Technical know-how in Sub-Saharan Africa in management of product units remain a major problem. Most countries do not have national school where experts are trained, talk less of royal community with limited knowledge on management of production unit and bioenergy. The second was the lack of policy incentive for small-scale processing. Incentives such as tax, exemption, award of certificate and research and development grant to foster bioenergy is lacking. Opportunity to bioenergy development from bamboo, economic opportunities. Developing bioenergy in rural areas can provide cheaper options for clean energy. Better opportunity for rural remote areas to provide feedstock to local processing units, contrary to centralized system. Can create rural development or employment. Environmental and health can potentially reduce the rate of deforestation by small-scale farmers, reduce health problems associated with smoke from solid biomass combustion. Way forward. Key sustainability standard for bioenergy generation from bamboo with government support is important for sustainable generation. Clear policy, incentives, policy framework, and coordination are required for efficient bioenergy generation from bamboo. Training and restoration of degraded lands through bamboo can provide required feedstock. Thank you for your kind attention. Thanks.
So, Robbins, thanks very much for your presentation. I must say it was very factual because you tried to highlight key figures which are of interest to us. And I must say I was very shocked to hear that around 1.2 billion people around the world do not have access to electricity. This is very shocking in a world that we know we might be around 7 to 9 billion, that a quarter of people do not have access to electricity is a challenge. And this is even more acute in the continent where we are living, where 74%, according to your statistics, in sub-Saharan Africa are still not connected to the grid. So this is a problem. The poor use of biofuels or fuel wood energy is causing serious respiratory issues and other health problems in Africa. But there is good news, as you mentioned, that bamboo could potentially be used to address some of these.
Live. Renee, unmute.
Very sorry for the interruption. We had a short internet problem here, but I'm happy that we are back online. So I was trying to embark on the very challenging task to summarize the very insightful presentation that Robinson shared with us. As he said, we know at least 1.5 billion people do not have access to electricity, and that in sub-Saharan Africa, unfortunately, 75% of us do not have access to electricity or are not connected to the national grid. But bamboo is an answer, or could potentially be harnessed to address this problem, especially in terms of bioenergy. So according to the research conducted by Robinson and all, if bamboo is well carbonized, its calorific value on two different species that they do observe is around 19.44 megajoules per kilogram and 18.32 megajoules per kilogram. I must say that these are values which are comparable to wood. So bamboo does, from an energy standpoint, is a viable substitute to wood energy. But however, to harness this potential of bamboo, we still have to overcome certain constraints, as mentioned by Robinson. One of these constraints is poor planning and capacity of most sub-Saharan African countries. By poor planning, he tried to emphasize on the fact that we are still at very early stage of project development, and that most of these projects have not able to produce tangible benefits. So thus it's a constraint to harnessing this potential. The second problem is technical know-how. We do have very few expert or trained people who could transform this bamboo into something we could use for energy. And this is further exacerbated by the fact that we do not have higher institutions or learning institutions which are training people in terms of transforming bamboo and other sustainable biofuels for energy use. And from a policy perspective, our policies are not well oriented, so there is no clear emphasis on the policy to sustain the use of bamboo for energy. So it does not only come with challenges. He said we have some few opportunities. If we do develop this industry, it is going to be cheaper compared to other sources of energy. We are going to have a lot of health benefit in terms of all respiratory problems that we have due to smoking fuel. We could have a better environment because we know that bamboo is a fast grower and it is one of the rare grasses where we don't have to replant, because the more you cut, the more it sprouts back, and thus it is environmentally beneficial, not to mention its high potential to sequestrate carbon. So finally, Robinson mentioned that there is need for our governments to pass or to adopt standards which play specific emphasis on bamboo for energy. And I do not agree more with him that without standards, it's going to be a problem. So Robinson, thank you very much for this presentation. Our last presenter is Peter, but Peter has not been able. He has not been able to connect. So what we are going to do is that we are going to play a video that he recorded, and we are going to collect questions and to be able to address to speakers. So I'm going to do a small tweak on his video because the angle he used for the recording was not very good. So I am going to play the slides, and then his sound is going to be on background, and I'm going to try to match these two so that we do have a good idea of what he did. So on that, I'm going to pass on to the presentation of Peter. So I am not the presenter for this. So this would be on behalf of Peter. I hope everybody can get the sound.
Is Peter Agudu, Federal Ministry of Environment, Department of Forestry, Abuja. I'm here to present environmental implication, bamboo versus other renewable energy. What will be the contribution to carbon mitigation or greenhouse gas reduction in the atmosphere? Environmental benefits. Once again, my name is Peter Bagudu. By way of introduction, bamboo belongs to a taxonomic group of large woody grasses that have a lignifying perennial and branch stem. What we are trying to say is that bamboo is a grass, or by its uses, it can be regarded as wood. It is the fastest growing woody plant in the world, and some species are reported to have a growth rate of about 1 meter per day. Scott Locke and others, 2000, Bokwe and others, 2016. Bamboo serves as a good alternative to wood and other renewable resources, owing to their good physical and mechanical attributes. Bamboo forests cover an estimated area of 37 million hectares worldwide, with more concentration in Asian countries, FAO 2014. It is one of the world's most versatile and multifaceted non-timber forest products, with great potential for poverty alleviation, provision of clean and renewable energy in the form of charcoal, briquettes, and wood for domestic and industrial uses, thus discouraging the use of timber as fuel that often lead to deforestation and land degradation. Here we cannot overemphasize the importance of poverty alleviation which bamboo can help solve, especially now that the world is experiencing unemployment globally. It has a great potential to mitigate climate change due to its low carbon emission and growth properties. Bamboo versus other renewable energy. What are the other renewable energy? We have, apart from bamboo, we have other biomass from waste. We have animal dogs. All these are renewable energy from biomass. And bamboo has a good fuel characteristics than other types of biomass, making it a good choice of fuel for heating and cooking. Its fuel characteristics include high calorie value, low moisture content, low ash content, and high volatile content. Besides this, it has a high cellulose and lignin content. It has the potential to replace wooden biomass as fuel, owing to its fast growth and short rotation period. It is also has low carbon emission, ability to grow in degraded soil, easily accessible and affordable when compared to wood. Its ability to regenerate after harvesting makes it possible for continuous supply of material for industry and good alternative to wood as fuel for cooking and heating. You recall that bamboo within 3 to 5 years has already matured, but other wood takes minimum of 15 years before they can get matured. And the fuel wood from bamboo is far better for cooking and heating. Its fast growth, shorter rotation period, and ability to regenerate natural after harvesting has made it possible to reduce pressure placed on wood as fuel, thereby reducing deforestation and degradation. And I want to say here that so let those who know the values of bamboo that cue into this point that I have just made, as many still prefer the use of wood than bamboo. But I'm saying here that bamboo has that ability, that potential for fuel, thereby reducing the deforestation and land degradation. The above characteristics makes it a strategic resource for achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 7, which is ensuring clean and sustainable energy access for all. Bamboo can be used as an energy source in form of charcoal, briquettes, generate thermal energy and electricity through a process called gasification. Some countries that have demonstrated the power of bamboo in generating electricity include China, Madagascar, India, to mention just a few. It is hoped that Nigeria and some other developing countries faced with electricity shortage should borrow a lead from such countries mentioned above in the bid to ensure energy sufficiency and affordability. Findings have also shown that bamboo has the ability in the mitigation of global climate change, adaptation, ameliorating the problem of deforestation, land degradation, soil erosion, and biodiversity loss owing to its growth characteristics. Fast growth, high yielding of biomass between 4 to 5 years as already mentioned, and ability to regenerate after harvesting makes it more suitable plant for climate change mitigation. The rate of carbon sequestration of bamboo is the highest in the world. In bamboo plantation, where selective harvesting can take place, it can sequestrate more carbon, especially if the harvested carbon are turned into durable products. Its growth habits allow high rates of production of oxygen and sequestrate more carbon than equivalent kind of trees. The huge bamboo rhizochrome system has the ability to reduce soil erosion, runoff, and conserve water. Conclusion, bamboo is gradually gaining more acceptance globally in environmental stability and conservation, adaptation, and climate change, and most of other sundry environmental issues due to its fast growth, shorter rotation period, and its ability to regenerate after harvesting. Therefore, countries that have not keyed into the multifaceted uses of bamboo should endeavor to do so by enacting bamboo policy that will promote the use of bamboo. Thanks for your listening, and I welcome questions from participants.
So that was that was the presentation from Peter, who was not able to join us due to technical issues. So we were able to play the presentation that he recorded because we were trying to avoid this inconvenience. So, but Peter is online with us, so he will be able to address questions if the audience do have questions. So now we have been able to clear 3 of our presentations, and we are going to move to the last part of our webinar, which is the Q&A sessions. We have been able to collect some questions. So the first ones will be addressed to Professor Abel. Professor Abel, we have this set of questions. The first one is from Nikan ahead, and he or she wants to know anything that you can share about the situation in the Republic of Malawi. So, do we have any briquette industry in the Republic of Malawi, or what is the potential of briquette in Malawi, or how could they move forward with that? And the second question is, what is the current level of use of bamboo briquette in your country, in Nigeria? So we are going to take first these 2 questions and invite Dr. Abel to answer these questions. So, Dr. Abel, over to you.
Well, thank you very much. The first question about whether there are bamboo briquetting facilities or industries in Malawi. I'm not aware of the current situation, but I'm aware that more than 30 years ago, a big bamboo factory was set up. But just like in many other African countries, including Nigeria, Uganda, and many other places, the industry could not survive because it was based on high tech. The cost of production was high, the cost of the product was high, and so it was difficult to penetrate the market. That was well over 20 years ago. I heard a report FAO about that, but as at today, I don't know what the current situation is. Now, coming to the second question about whether bamboo briquettes are being used in Nigeria today, the answer is not on a very large scale. I think in a few places people are still using it. And that's why I made a point that briquetting technology is still not very popular across Africa. The awareness level is low. And I guess that's one of the reasons for this webinar, to create awareness. I'm also aware that quite a few groups, especially targeting women, are beginning to promote briquetting in general, and then specifically now bamboo charcoal. But what we have in Nigeria today is nothing to write home about the use of bamboo charcoal briquettes. I hope I've been able to address those two questions effectively.
So, Dr. Abel, thanks very much for the answer. So we are going to move to the next question, which is from Dulce Blanca, a very good friend of mine in the Philippines. So she wants to know, and her question is addressed to all the three speakers. So maybe we are going to start with Dr. Abel, then we are going to take the point of Robinson, and then the point of Peter. So her question goes as follows. What are the top 3 strategies in your respective countries, Nigeria and Cameroon? Inclusion of bamboo in local, regional, and national renewable energy plans. So what is the strategy for that? B, improving the productivity of traditional biomass use. And C, existing laws and government policies supporting community-based bamboo, small and medium-sized enterprises, land use planning, and tenure rights investment. So she's actually asking 3 questions in one. So in our respective countries, the inclusion of bamboo in local and regional renewable energy plan. This is a policy perspective. Does the government in our respective countries take that into consideration? The second question is, what are we doing to improve the productivity of traditional biomass use? And the third question is, what are the existing laws and government policies supporting community-based bamboo, small, medium-sized enterprises, land use planning, and tenure rights investment? So these questions, I would start by inviting Dr. Abel to share his views on these questions. Then it will be Robinson, and we are going to follow with Peter. So Dr. Abel, over to you for the questions.
Very challenging question from a lawyer. I'm not surprised. Well, the first question, I know that Nigeria has a energy policy document that enunciates what the government intends to do. But specifically, that document was produced in 2007. It does not really specifically address bamboo use. But I'm aware that we have a Federal Ministry of Environment, and they've been promoting the use of bamboo. We also have a Raw Materials Research and Development Council, which has also been promoting the use of bamboo for renewable energy and other purposes in the last 15 years. But we have not made too much progress, I must confess. I know a lot of awareness is currently being created, and a few NGOs, non-governmental organizations, are already engaged in encouraging people to adopt bamboo and in promoting bamboo utilization for energy purposes. But the progress so far is not that impressive. The other questions, I don't think we have addressed any of the existing laws and so on. We don't have anything like that for now in Nigeria. Thank you.
So Dr. Ebert, thanks very much for sharing these views. I understand that we here in Sub-Saharan Africa, we are still at the early stage of trying to put in place policies to harness the potential of bamboo. I must say, in the case of Cameroon, that sometimes it is when the government realizes that something is happening on the ground that a policy follows, that it might be action first, then policy after. And in certain places where things are better planned, it is the policy first, then followed by the action. So if Robinson is on, what would be your views about the three questions from Dulce Blanca? Robinson. So while Robinson tries to get connect, I have my own question that I would like to share with the presenters. It would be, what is the potential of bamboo charcoal to compete with charcoal that comes from illegally harvested wood? So for me, this is the clear question. If there is no business potential on bamboo charcoal, it would be very difficult to convince people to shift. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, people are still very regardant on the price, not only on environmental benefits. So economic viability of bamboo charcoal should be a strong argument. So the question is, we do have a lot of charcoal in the market, which is sourced from unsustainably harvested wood, sometimes even illegally harvested wood. So how can bamboo charcoal compete with this? And if, as this is the reality, how can we turn the coin around so that bamboo charcoal should have should be more competitive, be it from a technical perspective or from a policy perspective? So that would be my question. I don't know if Peter or Robinson have been able to be able to step in to answer. Have they been able to step in? So maybe I go back to Dr. Abel. Dr. Abel, so based on my last question, what do you think we can do for bamboo charcoal to be able to compete with this wood charcoal from illegally harvested wood?
Well, I think technically speaking, really, it's easier, cheaper to produce charcoal from bamboo, because the time it takes, bamboo is hollow. So the energy requirements, the time requirement to produce charcoal from bamboo is much, much lower than what you require from wood. I've done it experimentally. So I think what we need to do is to create awareness, let people know. If people are aware that it take them lesser time. Now, if you want to produce a wood charcoal, maybe 2-3 days, bamboo charcoal, depending on the quantity, can actually be produced in a day or less. So it takes less time. And if it takes less time, it means that you are saving time. You are saving energy, the material that you need to use to combust to get your charcoal. Actually, it should cost less. And then when it also comes to the availability of the material, you have to rely on your wood to grow for about 6 or 7 years if you actually have planted. But you are talking about people who don't plant. But we also know that really bamboo self-regenerates. So you cut it today, 2 years time is back. So really, bamboo charcoal can compete effectively with wood charcoal. What we need is to create awareness. Technically speaking, it's faster, and when it comes to money, because it's faster, it's going to be cheaper. Thank you.
So according to you, you believe that bamboo charcoal has the potential to compete with with charcoal made from illegally harvested timber. That is not the case as of now. Maybe, as you said, it's because people have not yet engaged into the business of producing charcoal for market purposes, and that part of the use of this webinar is actually to address this issue. In your presentation, or in all the three presentations, we had one argument. The argument is that bamboo is not planted in most part of this part of the world, and that people are just harvesting the existing standard. In Peter's presentation, he mentioned the potential of bamboo for electricity generation. And then the question comes in, how would this electricity be sustainable if we do not plant? How do we at the same time encourage the use of bamboo for electricity generation when we do not have plantation, we do not have clear statistics of how much feedstock we can produce? So how can we address this problem? And this is a question that is also open to all the speakers. So I have been informed that Robinson is back. So Robinson, as a reminder, we had one very good friend of mine, Dulce Blanca, who is a lawyer. She's based in the Philippines. She had 3 questions that she put into one. She was saying that in Cameroon, question A, what are the strategies to include bamboo in local, regional, and national renewable energy plants? That's the first question. The second question, what are the strategies in improving the productivity of traditional biomass use? And her last question was, what are the strategies or what are the existing laws and government policies supporting community-based bamboo, small and medium-sized enterprises, land use planning, and tenure rights? So please, based on your understanding of Cameroon, could you address this question from Blanca? Robinson, over to you. You have to unmute your microphone.
Thank you very much for the 3 questions. I think the first question is talking about how can Cameroon, the case of Cameroon, how can Cameroon do to make sure that bioenergy resources can be implemented at rural area or at the local level? I think for now in Cameroon, the first strategy is that they should come out with good policy and harmonized regulations governing the exploitation, extraction, and processing of bamboo in Cameroon. Because at this level, Cameroon is lacking good policy framework that can guide bamboo source sector in Cameroon. Because as of now, we don't yet have a good policy framework and laws binding the exploitation and the governance of bamboo source sector in Cameroon. I think I'm answering the first and the last question of regulations. There are no regulations for now, and for now, to the best of my knowledge, I think in Cameroon we don't yet know which sector is actually managing or which institution is actually managing bamboo source sector in Cameroon. Because if you look at Cameroon, it's fall under maybe not timber forest product, but you look at the regulation governing not timber forest product in Cameroon, bamboo is not included. I think I've answered, that is how I can try to handle that other question. Then at the level, we need to develop capacity. I think in my presentation, I talk of capacity for community to actually be engaged in bamboo biomass production. They need to develop capacity building at local level, maybe local level, national and sub-regional level. Because the community have bamboo, but they require capacity for them to actually extract it as a source of bioenergy is lacking. So we need capacity building of rural communities who harbor bamboo, different bamboo species found in Cameroon. Remember that most bamboo in Cameroon are found in rural areas, and these rural areas lack the required capacity to actually exploit this resource as a bioenergy. So that is how I think I can handle the question. Thank you very much. Maybe I forgot another name was to be coming back.
Yeah, Robinson, I will keep on you. So thanks very much for those answers. I'm going to come back and add some few clarifications, and then I'm going to send a question back to you. So from a policy perspective, we do have a Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife. And the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife is the mandated governmental institution to handle both timber product and non-timber forest product. So our bamboo falls under the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife. And it is also the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife which addresses all issues related to bamboo charcoal. But now I will agree with you that there is a level of ambiguity, because bamboo can also be considered as an agricultural product, because it can be planted in intercultures with other crops, and then the confusion might set in. Does this then depend on the Ministry of Agriculture or the Ministry of Forestry? I think that is something we have to address. But also in terms of ownership of the resource, the law in Cameroon is very clear. If something is not planted, it belongs to the government. That is the law. So everything we have as natural bamboo stands belong to the government. And to be able to access this bamboo, the Ministry of Forestry has developed a booklet that a farmer can fill and apply and be able to access that. So that was just a few complementary answers to few complementary points to your answer. Now my question to you is, in Cameroon, we do have charcoal, which is made from illegally harvested timber, from wild cutting in the bushes. How do you think bamboo charcoal can compete with this charcoal made from illegally harvested wood?
Thank you. I think bamboo charcoal can compete in the sense that bamboo have the highest growth rates. That is planted bamboo, for example. So bamboo have the highest growth rate in Cameroon, not only bamboo species, not only even in Cameroon, in the world as a whole. So look at the case of Cameroon. Bamboo can effectively compete with charcoal coming from illegal wood exploitation. Why? Because bamboo, if well managed and appropriate policy are put in place with respect to bamboo management, especially in terms of extraction, to actually compete with charcoal, given the fact that bamboo, in terms of exploitation, is not difficult for it to be easily exploited, especially by the community. It needs a lot of capital, for example, charcoal wood, to be exploited, because just the timber itself, to saw the timber, it needs a lot of human and financial capacity. But looking at bamboo, it does not actually, the capital is really need enough capital, but not as compared with that of wood charcoal. So I think bamboo can effectively compete if appropriate exploitation and sustainable management measures are actually put in place, especially at the community level, which harbor these natural resources. And we know also that, as you already mentioned, bamboo also cut across sectoral area. You go to agriculture, you are fine in forestry, so it cut across different sectoral institutions in Cameroon. So you need a lot of coordination for it to be effectively compete with wood charcoal in Cameroon. Thank you. I think I've attempted to answer you one way or the other. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Robinson, for the answer. You mentioned in your presentation that there is lack of technical know-how.
Yes.
So I'm going to send this question to Professor Abel, because when we talk about technical know-how, we talk about capacity building, we talk about training, and there's no better place than a university. So Professor Abel, what do you think is the cause of the fact that there is low research on bamboo for renewable energy now? And what do you think should be done so that governments should enact policies that will encourage universities to go on research on bamboo, and also to train people living in and around natural bamboo stands? So, Professor Abel, if you are with us, please, how could you address that question?
Well, thank you. Speaking specifically about Nigeria, I've mentioned that in the last 15 or so years, there's been a lot of awareness at different levels, including from the government. For example, we have a Raw Materials Research and Development Council in Nigeria that has been promoting research and development in bamboo utilization. We have the Ministry of Environment, we have tertiary education. There are quite a number of research supporting institutions in Nigeria now that encourage research into bamboo utilization for energy purposes and for furniture and other purposes. So speaking about Nigeria, I think right now the manpower is being developed. In my department here at the University of Ibadan, quite a lot of work has been done in the last 15 years about a number of us, and they've been published about the utilization of bamboo for charcoal, for furniture, and for other purposes. So I think we are making progress in Nigeria. I cannot speak much for other African countries, but I think the government has been encouraging research and development in bamboo utilization.
Yeah, Professor Abel, thanks very much. But to stay on you as a professor, you as a teacher, if you are in a position of the policymaker, what would be your recommendations so that university should pick up with this research on bamboo as a sustainable source of energy?
Well, clearly, my recommendation would be that there should be clear policies, clear incentives, awareness programs, and so on that would encourage people. So the challenge with bamboo in Sub-Saharan Africa is we see it as poor man's timber. People look down on it, even though they use it for various purposes. So the first thing is to first create awareness that this material you are looking at is much more valuable than the value you place on it. So we must first create awareness that this is a valuable material that we're dealing with, and then create incentives, encourage people to do plantations, and encourage people to conduct research into utilization, and encourage technical know-how, even below the university level, teaching people about how to do the various things we've talked about, how to produce charcoal in a more sustainable manner, how to produce briquettes, and some of those things. So even it's not supposed to be limited to the universities. Our vocational training institutes, our technical colleges, our women groups, and so on, they need to be trained on the use of bamboo. So if I want to be in a position of a policy maker, those are the issues I will address in the policy.
Thank you very much. So we have a question from Bruno Ambrossi, another friend from Brazil. So Bruno says that, and this question is addressed to all the speakers, that in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, they have a lot of unused bamboo. They want to make charcoal and add value to facilitate transportation, which is very difficult in the forest, we can imagine. So the question is, do you know what is the market size of bamboo charcoal or activated bamboo charcoal in the world? That's the first question. Has the current pandemic increased the demand for bamboo charcoal? Who are the main buyers? And do you know where we have reliable data on this market that applications in countless products? So to summarize the question from Bruno, he wants to know, where is the market for the bamboo charcoal? What are the statistics? And do we have any statistics for activated bamboo charcoal? So these are the questions. I will start with Dr. Abel. Then from Dr. Abel, we are going to take Robinson's point of view on the question.
I think it's a marketing question. I don't have the data, but I think INBAR should have quite a lot of data on what he's asking about, especially about bamboo charcoal. Now, activated bamboo charcoal is a different kettle of fish because that is used for different purposes in the cosmetic industry, water treatment, and so on. My general impression, without having specific figures, is that the market there is huge, but I don't have the values. I have not been working in the area of the market. I've concentrated more on the technical aspect, but I'm sure, like I said, INBAR should be able to assist in providing market information. But I think if it's about whether there is a huge market for it, I think the answer is yes. If not, there will not be these attempts to create standards. I'm aware that we are working on a standard on bamboo charcoal because I'm a member of that committee. And it's actually a product that has attained international standards, international acceptability, that we want to develop standards for when it comes to marketing. So even from that point of view alone, I'm aware that there's a huge market for bamboo charcoal and activated bamboo charcoal, but I don't have the figures.
Thank you very much, Professor Abel. So, Robinson, so on the question that Bruno just mentioned, what would be your stance? Over to you.
Okay, I think I will not differ from what Dr. have just said, but from my understanding, I think we don't have current data on markets, global market on charcoal, as Yarali said. But I think he's talking more of value chain, and looking at the value chain, we talk about market, and globally, it is very difficult, except from INBAR, that maybe you can have reliable data that concerns global market trend of bamboo charcoal. I think looking at the value chain, there are different. You also have to look at those which are the actors in the world that are handling bamboo value chain. Because you have actors. So I think from that angle, we all talk about actors. Before talking about market, we are talking about value chain. So which are the actors? I think from regional, sub-regional, continental level, you can able to know the various actors. Maybe with the assistance of INBAR, because they will best know the key actors in processing and extraction of bamboo in the world. I think that is where I will end. Thank you.
Yeah. So, in terms of market, you guys are right. INBAR has an annual publication on the global trade on bamboo and rattan. So that could advise, but usually in these publications that we compile, we have categorized bamboo into different products, woven product, construction. I don't know if the category on bamboo charcoal has been specifically increased so that we have clear statistic, but now there is possibility. And I have been informed by my colleague Jinwei that there would be a session on activated carbon market that we are going to talk about to be able to address this issue on activated carbon. What is the potential? What is the market? What is the need? How can this be used? So that is a session that is going to be answered. I think we have exhausted the questions that we had. Before closing this session, maybe I'll give back the floor to Dr. Abel and Dr. Robinson for the time they took, and ask them if they would have a concluding statement for these sessions about the question that we've collected, and what would be their recommendation to a different government and those who are listening to us. So I will start with Robinson. Robinson, what would be your concluding remarks for this webinar? Over to you.
Thank you very much, Bilomo. I think my concluding remark for this webinar is that, for example, for the case of Cameroon, we need to actually come out with good policies that will guide bamboo biomass exploitation in Cameroon. And looking at the technical know-how, we need also to put more effort in trying to build capacity and also give project that would require to manage bamboo in Cameroon. I think more is to be done at that aspect. We need more project that will assist maybe the community from there. It can be a source of motivation for bamboo to be extracted as a source of bioenergy in Cameroon. I think that's where I will draw my conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robinson. Thanks very much for the concluding remarks. I hope the policymakers in Cameroon have been able to take their notes and will act accordingly. So, Professor Abel, what will be your concluding remarks about all the questions we have collected about the webinar and the way forward?
Well, thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank the organizers of this webinar for the opportunity I've been given to make this presentation. I'd like to also thank everyone who has participated, as specifically those who have asked very incisive questions. My own concluding remarks are as follows. One, I think there's a need for more regional collaboration in the sub-Saharan Africa. We need to share information, we need to exchange expertise, and if possible, maybe even develop regional policies as we go forward, especially regarding the promotion of bamboo as a sustainable material for energy production. There's hardly anywhere in sub-Saharan Africa where bamboo cannot grow because it also grows in degraded lands. And we have different species, and we are very familiar right now about the growth requirements and so on. So I think we need to promote bamboo plantations across sub-Saharan Africa. We need to develop capacity, and for those who have capacity, we need to share experience with others about our technical know-how, especially about briquetting press production, about charcoal manufacturing, modern sustainable charcoal manufacturing processes. I think the future is bright. I've said it and I want to repeat that in this foreseeable future, people will still rely on things like charcoal in Africa. So what we need to do is to encourage them to do it, to use it in a sustainable manner. And bamboo is a very good substitute for wood in this regard. I just hope that that message will sink and our policymakers will synergize so that we can promote bamboo for sustainable energy production in Africa. Thank you very much.
So, Dr. Abel, thanks very much for your concluding remarks. What I think is very important is really the regional approach that definitely is possible in Africa because our continent is divided into different economic groups. We have the ECOWAS, we have the CEMAC, we have the SADC, etc. So it is possible that from that perspective, we work together. So we have come to the end of this webinar. I would like to thank all our presenters who took time to prepare for this and sacrifice their time. We have Professor Abel from Nigeria. We have Mr. Bagudu Peter from Nigeria and Chemney Robinson from Cameroon. So I would like to thank you very much for the time that you have taken to share your knowledge on bamboo, on harnessing the potential of bamboo for renewable energy for Africa. I also want to thank my colleagues who are working behind the scene that we don't see here, but who have been doing a lot so that this should be possible. And that my special thanks goes to my colleague, Jinwei, Qinghui, Nana Leslie, Belmont, and Sarah, who are working behind the scene to make this a reality. So on this, I would like to call this webinar to an end, and
Renee,
I will encourage. Yes.
Peter is here.
Is Peter able to connect and say something before we close the session?
Yeah.
Can we have Peter live? It would be very good if he is able to. We played his video, but if we can pull him in to have him live, it would be very good.
Yeah, but we don't have his video.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's.
Please turn on your camera because you are online, but there's no signal, no image signal.
Will it be possible to have Peter? So Peter, we were able to present on your behalf, if I can say that, but it will be very good if we can have you live.
Please unmute yourself.
Peter, can you hear us? Please unmute your microphone so that we can copy you.
I think he didn't.
Good. So I think the technical challenges we're having with Peter, we are going to resolve that for future opportunities. So Peter, thanks very much for the time and joining us.
I think Peter unmutes his microphone.
Okay, Peter, please, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I can hear you.
Very good. We are very happy to have you. What I would do is that I'll pass on the different questions that we have collected from the audience and try to get your answer from your own perspective before we close the session. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's okay.
Okay, very, very good. So
can I take the questions?
Yes. So the first question that we got was, what are the strategies in Nigeria? What are the strategies in Nigeria to include bamboo in local and regional renewable energy plants? That was the first question. The second question is, what are the strategies in Nigeria in improving the productivity of traditional bamboo biomass use? And the third question is, what are the strategies or what are the existing laws and government policies supporting community-based, small-size enterprises, land use planning, and tenure rights? So Peter, please, could you share your views on these three questions?
Okay, let me take what are the strategies in Nigeria in improving the bamboo biomass. Actually, we are trying to develop bamboo in Nigeria and formed cooperative, have a small cooperative bodies to improve on the use of bamboo for bamboo. That is one of the strategy we are using currently. And in doing that, we encourage the cultivation of bamboo.
Hello, Peter. Peter, can you hear us?
With this of the
I think the connection is not very good.
The connection is not very good. So before we revert back trying to get Peter, there is Dr. Murali, a very good friend of ours, who just sent a question or a comment, and I'm going to look at that. So he says the use of bamboo for clean energy should be set against competition uses a better value addition such as biochar and activated carbon that are likely to come up sooner or later in the countries. So I think Dr. Murali is emphasizing on the higher end use of bamboo in terms of biochar, that we should try to look in that. And we received another anonymous question on how are these competing applications to be resolved. I do not have the best of the answers, but I don't know if the applications is the competition between bamboo charcoal and activated bamboo. If that's the competition between the two, from my perspective, I don't see any competition, because bamboo charcoal for fuel use has its own market, it has its own potential, and activated bamboo charcoal for cosmetics and other uses has its own his own market. It all depends on who is transforming those two and his capital and the market he is targeting. So they are, in my sense, complementary, but not competing. So that would be my view on that. I don't know if the connection of Peter has been able to improve, and if we could revert back to him. Peter, can you come up? Has your connection improved?
Please unmute.
Yeah, Peter, please unmute your microphone so that we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes,
Yes.
please go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah, Peter, we are listening. Can you come up? Good. I think the technical issues that Peter is having is a big problem for him to share his views with us today. Peter, can you hear us? Okay, so I think our goodwill to bring in Peter here, the goodwill might have been superseded with the technical challenges we are having. I will suggest that we thank everybody who has really put in a lot of efforts for the development of this webinar. So this is one just in a series of webinars that INBAR is organizing. I would like to invite the audience to keep following us with very interesting series. Maybe somebody could mute the microphone of Peter so that we don't have the background sound. This is just one of the many series that INBAR is organizing. So I will invite you all to follow up on INBAR website and our social media linked account to be able to be updated on future events. In terms of renewable energy for Africa, this was the first one. We have collected a lot of applications, and we are going to work to see how we can organize this, and hopefully with less technical issues. On this, I know we have taken more time than we plan to do. I thank you all for your patience, and I wish you all a very, very good day. So on that, again, thanks to all my colleagues in the background doing the good job. On that, I would like to end this webinar, and I thank you very all. Bye-bye.